21st, 2016. Roll call, please.
Mr. Jones? Vice Chairman Hellinger?
Here.
Chairman Schaefer?
Here.
Motion to excuse Mr. Jones.
I will second that, since there's only two of us. We will second that. Item number 2 is approval of motion summary from the Parking and Safety Committee meeting held August 16th, 2016. Just get colored and transcribed.
Motion to approve.
And I will second that as well. Item number 3 is time for public comment for anything that is not on tonight's agenda. So hopefully you have a copy of the agenda, you know the things that are on there. So if this is something in addition, please come forward at this time. State your name and address for the record and give us your comments.
My name is Mark Johnson, address 228 South Franklin Street, Delaware, Ohio. Okay, and what this is about, I hope that y'all seen the pictures which I had sent about the parking on Washington Street and also on Harrison Street, especially when Woodward School is being let out. Cars are literally parking on the sidewalk. Now, where I live out on Franklin Street, I walk down Harrison and of course on down Washington. And I mean, my granddaughter and I, we can't even walk on the sidewalk together because of the cars. They're that far up on the sidewalk where, you know, either she has to walk in the grass, I have to walk in the grass, or, you know, where the bushes are, sometimes I have to let her go in front of me. The issue to me is this is damaging the sidewalks that the homeowners are responsible for. When they crack up and get busted, the city is not going to pay for it. The homeowners are the ones that are going to be cited for this, and it's not fair to the homeowners there. We even had an incident where this lady, the way she parks all the time in front of this house, it's on the corner alley where I guess in between Washington going toward Franklin. So she would be the blue house on the corner right there on the north side. She's cutting her grass trimmings hits this woman's car. The woman sees a lady, you know, cutting grass, but still parks up there. She jumps out yelling at the lady, and it's like, come on, man. I mean, you see her cutting grass. It's not fair. Everyone on Harrison Street, everyone on Washington Street has parking lots, driveways. Even on, there's an alley right across Woodward School where Harrison Street is. They have the option, they can even pull back in there and park in the back part of their property if they wanted to. And what I propose is that they put up no parking signs going down Harrison and also on Washington. The Habitat for Humanity home that was just built there on the corner, cars parking up on there, the sidewalk's already cracked up there. And that's because of the weight of the tires, you know. So that's what I propose is, and I mean, I've seen it done up by Smith School. They have no parking all the way down that street. And that's a wider street than Harrison or Washington. You know, I mean, I just like the same courtesy right there for my neighborhood. It would be nice to have beautiful grass right there, and keep in mind, anytime we have large functions like the Ironman, 4th of July, guess where they're parking at? They're parking down in my end of town too. And when you're trying to impress people and have more events, which I hope that we have here in this city, you know, I'd like to see a lot more stuff happen. Who wants to, you know, see the grass being driven on all the time? You know, it just don't look right, you know. And the other one too is, I believe it's on Henry Street and also on Henry and Old and Tangy. The way they have the stop sign there, you have to pull up if you're on Henry, and if you're going to turn left, you don't see those cars coming up because of those pillars from that bridge. All right, not until, I mean, being that close to that end of town, I do travel that quite a bit, and I've almost hit vehicles, and I have almost been hit too. You know, that four-way stop on the other side needs to be moved up to that area there, to where it's better visibility. You know, I mean, make the people stop. I mean, I know what I'm asking, some people would say is an inconvenience, especially when they're letting out, going back to the other issue with the people parking on cars. If you can drive there to drop your children off, you can also drive there and get in line like everybody else and pick your children up driving. And if you want to stop and get out and walk into the school, there's a parking lot right across from the school, you know, the employees parking lot. And not just that, on Liberty, there's a parking lot there where the center is, the community center, that area there. There's public parking right there too. We do have available parking for these residents that wants to pick their children up, but they just want the easy way out and, you know, inconvenience the homeowners and tear our property up, and they don't care because they have to drive away, and they don't have to look at it because they have to drive away, you know. So that's what I propose, is that we have no parking signs put up through there. You know, personally, I'd like to see it 24 hours a day, no parking, you know. But if that is not acceptable, at least no parking the same times that they have right in front of Woodward School, which I believe is from 7 a.m. to 4 p.m. Signs parked out, you know, no parking then. Our law enforcement, they shouldn't have to be the babysitters of going up there, making them get off the sidewalks all the time. And that's why I believe put the signs up, that should solve that problem. So thank you so much, and I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Chief, have you guys noticed a problem down there, like on the sidewalk?
We've monitored that. We have officers watch that area during drop off and let out. We did have an officer check it out there. It's kind of the universal problem with all the old city schools, is they're in residential areas and kind of the capacities exceeded the infrastructure. One of the things I think we talked about was there's some areas we can post a no parking, I believe on South Washington, south of Harrison Street, where there's kind of an area where the cars park and they're kind of half at the curb and half in the road. So I think we're going to already address that because we already legislatively can. The other issues are a little more difficult because you're correct. Human nature is people want to come in there and pull up, pick up their kids and leave. So one of the things we're kind of pending right now is the new construction down there. They're actually adding a parking lot on the north of the school. So there's going to actually be more parking for visitors. I think the teachers will be in that lot north of the school, and then across the street will be all guests and visitors. So there will be more parking available. And I think, you know, if we could figure out how to get everyone to listen to the traffic pattern that goes on down there, that would help. But as far as the parking, it's, you know, it's very similar to Smith and Conger.
May I respond, please? With that issue, and thank you for, you know, addressing it, and I appreciate it, but even when the parking lot is built, I can guarantee you the problem will still exist, because you got to look at the nature of the beast. They don't care. They will park as close to the corners. They will park up on the sidewalks. And as I said, it's the nature of the beast. And like I said, you know, this is my neighborhood, and I want my neighborhood to be just as beautiful as the rest of Delaware. I would like all of Delaware to be, I mean, to where it's just anyone can go anywhere and say, this looks nice, you know, and that's what my goal is. You know, I mean, heaven knows, I would love to see some racing come up here into Delaware, you know, like they used to have down in Columbus, where they would block off streets, and they actually had racing there back in the, I believe it was in the 70s and 80s, and then it stopped. But that would be really nice to have up in here, you know. It's just, Delaware is just such a great city. I mean, I wouldn't, no other place do I want my grandchild to be raised. That's a fact, you know. But I want to keep the trash out, if that makes sense. And I hate to be blunt about it, but I don't know any other way to say it. And when you see that, and that trash doesn't care, you got to do something about it. And like I said, it is the nature of the beast. They don't care, and they're going to do whatever they can to make it as easy. It is so sad when I pick her up and I hear these parents that parking up on the sidewalk complaining how the students have to share school items, school supplies. And I'm thinking, you know what, if you put your cigarettes down and smell the alcohol, come on, put that to the side, be a proper parent, buy the child what they need, then they wouldn't have to share. Myself, I have spent since school has started over $200, almost $300 that in supplies that I've taken to the school and just donate. My children are all grown, but these kids are the ones suffering because of their parents. That's what they're being raised with, and I'm helping out as much as I can because I want those kids to have a better environment than what they're growing up in. And that's all I want in my neighborhood is to be a better environment, so thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comments? Anything that's not related to tonight's agenda? If not, we will move on to the discussion items. The first one is item A, the removal of the 15-minute and 2-hour parking restrictions on East Lincoln and North Sandusky Street.
Yeah, Chairman Schaefer and Councilman Hellinger. This is the parking right here. This is North Sandusky Street where the cursor is at Lincoln. So I'm going to bring this down to the street level. But it is the 3 parking spaces right here. These first 2 in this area are 2-hour spaces, and this space here is a 15-hour space. And that was because I think this brown house right here used to be a business. That business no longer exists. It's residential again. So the request was made just to remove these signs and let the street parking revert to the surrounding condition, which is the typical street side parking.
What's the recommendation of staff?
We're recommending that
Okay.
occur.
What do I have to do? Make a,
Move to approve.
I guess, move to approve your recommendation of the removal of the 15-minute, 2-hour parking restrictions.
And I will second it.
Yep.
Item B is the relocation of no parking from here to corner signage on the west side of North Liberty, north of West William Street.
Okay, I'll take this one. We had a request from Mrs. Garrett, who said that the no parking here to corner needed to be moved further to the north on for the southbound approach on North Liberty there. We did some research. There has been an accident history there. There's been about 9 accidents in the past 5 years, and this is just for the southbound approach. 6 of which have been rear-end collisions, 3 of which have been sideswiped, so either a parked vehicle or maybe trying to change lanes. So we also did some observations, particularly last week, in the peak times, the AM, the midday, and the PM. And we've noticed that traffic does get backed up to about 25 North Liberty and also in sometimes 29 North Liberty, so a little bit further north than that. So right now, the parking restrictions, Bruce, I don't know if you could show there on the map. It goes back.
Right about here, isn't it?
Yes, that's about 120 feet north of West William. And then also from West Winter, it goes down about 35 feet. So there's a total of existing about 280 feet of existing parking there today. So if we were to restrict, based on the accident history and based on where traffic needs to utilize that area, we'd probably need to go to either the north property line of 25 North Liberty, or even the south property line would be, we wouldn't get all the peak times, but we'd get majority of them. So, and to the best of my knowledge, I'm pretty sure all those properties have parking in the rear. So you guys can correct me if I'm wrong. The alley there, so.
So that's your recommendation is to move the.
Yeah, either, what would we say, 20 to the
I would do
25
the
North Liberty?
North line of 25 North Liberty.
And that would help with capacity. One, I think it would help with the accident history. 2, it would help with capacity. The more lanes, the more room we have to get traffic through there, the quicker we can get the signal cycle back over to West William Street there, so.
Is anybody here to comment on this?
I guess I'd make a motion to accept staff's recommendation
And I will
as
second
as
that.
submitted.
Item 5, new business. Item A is the staff's report on traffic calming measures of crosswalk installation and enhancement guide.
I'll take that one, Mr. Chair. Public Works Department is in the process of creating 2 documents that we feel are important for the city. Citizens, city leaders, residents, sometimes developers that come in, but mainly staff for one of these documents. 2 documents that we're working on. The first one is crosswalk and installation enhancement guide, and I did bring a draft tonight just to prove that we're making progress. But it's way too early, premature for circulate it for public comment. We want to make sure we have a solid first draft, and then we will put that out for some public involvement, public comment. And right now it's still being circulated amongst staff. The targeted audience for the crosswalk installation enhancement guide is basically decision makers at staff level and for a committee just like this committee here tonight, and also for the residents to read. But it does get into some in-depth diagrams and measures and descriptions of different treatments. So our in-house traffic engineer, Jessica, has put a lot of work into it. So it's a lot of her work, but it's I think we've had a vision of this for a few years, and now we're finally carving out some time to get it drafted. So we hope to have this out before the next meeting, and that way what we won't do is give my promise we won't send it to you like 3 days before the meeting. Either wait till the meeting and then give it to you and then ask for comments before the next meeting, or what I'm getting at is we want to make sure we take time to get it right. Sure. And we don't want to rush this. Okay. We would like this document to have a shelf life of over a decade. So we want to, maybe 2 decades. So we want to take our time and do it. The second one is new in title, but not new in content. It's a traffic calming manual. And the targeted audience for this manual is everybody, citizens, like homeowners associations. We get a lot of questions from officers on these boards of homeowners associations, and it's for staff. It's really for everybody. And what it does is there's a couple of new topics in here, but what it does is a couple important highlights. It sets some criteria for implementing some new technologies, some new pilot programs that we're going to be requesting monies for in the 2017 budget. One of them being the speed feedback signs.
What?
Speed feedback signs, basically speed limit sign tells you your speed. It actually collects data as well too, so it'll help us kill 2 birds with 1 stone. We actually interact with the vehicles and the drivers, but we're actually collecting data at the same time. Now we don't want to proliferate these, nor mainly because we wouldn't be able to. It's not sustainable. They're costly. The price is coming down. That's why technology's been out there for a few years, but we've kind of waited patiently for the prices to come down. They are solar for the most part, correct?
Yeah. One of the main things too is with this pilot program, we need to see if they have a long-term effect. A lot of these things, they're more of a short-term, and then the speeds go back up. So we got to really do our data and our research to see if it's really worthwhile. And that's why I think with the pilot program, we'll move them around to different areas within the city and just see how and evaluate how they do. So
Good.
Some other chapters as topics have been around, and we actually have policy that's been around for a while, like the multi-way stop sign policy. So that's more of a housekeeping and kind of rolling it into one manual. That way we don't have it pieces and parts on our website and trying to organize. So I don't know if they're going to track together. Right now, the crosswalk installation enhancement guide is kind of tracking ahead, but we also need the traffic calming manual to progress so that we can establish that criteria for those pilot programs that we want to do. Also, RRFBs, rectangular rapid flashing beacons that we've installed over by High Wesleyan. We've got some criteria in here for those too, when they're warranted, when they're not warranted. So hopefully over the holidays, now that construction's winding down, we'll have time to really hit this hard. So.
We have item B now, which is the Krug Road Armstrong all-way stop.
All right, I don't know if anybody's been out through this intersection in the past week or so, but there's a lot of semi-truck traffic that's going into heavy equipment, I should say, trucks loading out trees. There's a development, approved development called the Ravines at Olentangy that has been approved now for a decade and has just kind of sat on the shelf. We were informed very recently that that development's been resurrected. It's kind of a long story, make a long story short. There is an arbitration order from the project back in 2006. There was some conditions put on the final development plan that were challenged in court. Out of that came arbitration. Out of the arbitration came the responsibility of the city to take care of any safety issues at this intersection in order to create it to a four-legged intersection. So this has all happened really fast, where the developer applied for tree clearing permits, which is causing some traffic on a new fourth leg for the first time ever at this intersection. And what we plan to do, what the engineering study said to do in 2006 was to basically carve out some embankment on the side of the road so you get better sight distance and keep it functioning the way it is now, with stop condition on Armstrong and stop condition on this new road, which is going to be called Rockdale Lane, I believe. However, that embankment and those pine trees are on private property. That property owner is opposed to, and I understand, opposed to that embankment coming out. So council would have to acquire the property through eminent domain. We decided we're going to recommend something different than that. We're going to recommend it be converted to an all-way stop. In the Ohio manual traffic control devices, one of the warrants is if you have a sight distance issue that you can't work around. And in our minds, it's this is one of those. We implemented the same thought process for Stratford and Olentangy Street right down the road. And this gentleman had referred to that intersection earlier tonight. So we think all things considered, the best solution this time is to expedite the installation of an all-way stop condition at this intersection. So what you have in front of you is simply just a diagram and illustrative purposes only. These are not to scale yet. This was just thrown together today so we could get something in front of you. The reason I needed to get something in front of you is because I was going to ask that if it's okay that we would send this right directly to council and not have to wait for another meeting, simply because of the what we've assessed as a pretty moderate safety issue. So we would like to get this out there before the first accident occurs. We have some time. The heavy development activity may not occur until spring, so we've got some adjustment period. We understand going into winter, it's not the most ideal time, but we think if we do a double stop sign in the westbound direction, that'll help for sure. And I'll be happy to entertain any questions. I know this is just being laid in front of you, but if you have any red flags, any concerns?
So the fourth leg is what looks like this driveway.
Exactly. That'll be a public road that goes back and serves single family subdivision.
It'll be basically a four-way stop once your recommendation.
Yes. We looked at all kinds of options. At one point on the table was Curve becoming Armstrong Road, and then North Street would tee into it. But it was so expensive. Developer didn't want to take on that, and the city didn't want to take on that improvement.
So how's it set up now?
Right now, it's a through condition, curve to north, and curve is actually legally 55 mile per hour. It changes to 25. So I guess one of the positives out of this is that it does really help slow people down. I mean, we're not, you know, from our case history, we're not fans of unwarranted stop signs on our staff now. We're really opposed to them. But this is a case where I all things considered, not having the property rights to go in and do the grading, the arbitration agreement, all those things, I think it's the best solution. And the lack of city funds to do a robust roundabout or something like that. I'd love to do a roundabout there, but it would be, you know, $750,000 to $1 million probably.
So if we approve this tonight, it will go to council for their.
Yeah, we're gonna tighten up the dimensions and the exhibit and have a little bit more narrative and do a fact sheet. But I was gonna respectfully request that we just send it directly on as a resolution once it's ready.
Yeah, so I make a motion that we approve staff's recommendation of an all-way stop at Armstrong Curve Road Northward.
And I will second that, so. go ahead.
Thank you. Thank you.
And item 6 under old business, as we talked about at least once or maybe twice before, the installation of parking signage restrictions on Firestone Drive.
I'll go ahead and take this again. As you recall, the last meeting, we had residents from Firestone Drive come in and voice their concerns about the restrictions or for the restrictions. And you asked the staff to go back and make a formal recommendation. So we did, and I'm not sure, was it included in your guys' packet, the exhibit? And staff looked at it and we thought that the best recommendation around that, since it does condense down from a 32-foot wide street to a 28-foot wide street, that parking be restricted just along the curve itself, and it's a 200-foot radius. We're recommending that it be restricted on the north side versus the south side. That'll help with sight distance. So the exhibit shows it's about a 200-foot swath from about the the speed hump all the way to, I'm not sure exactly what the address of the property is. It's the first house,
It's 188.
188. To just on the west side of that property. So.
Great.
Fire hydrant should be just right there. I think we will fire
This is the
hydrant,
tree
fire
review.
hydrants.
Well, there's,
Yeah.
this is where,
There's
this is
one-
where the east edge will be right here of the no parking zone.
And then the west
And then-
edge will be, there's a fire hydrant on the south side of Firestone Drive
Right,
there.
right here. Is it the one with the pool here?
Let's see.
I don't want to see that. I think it is. I think it's right here.
The exhibit doesn't show that far back, but
Let me just do this. So it's right up.
Where that red car is.
Oh, yeah.
Here's the fire hydrant. So. Between, got it.
Just to be clear, we're one's on the north side.
yes, on the north side,
side of-
But
yes.
the hydrant's on the south side, that's just your landmark. Right.
Yeah, but it is on the north side on the east edge. It switches sides
Okay.
there. It's kind of confusing.
Anybody here have a comment on the Firestone Drive parking restrictions? Yes, sir.
My name is William Brown, and I live at 200 Firestone, which is about 4 houses up from there. And I was at the last meeting, and I just wanted to support the fact that if we go from Delaware up to just through the curve, that would eliminate a very big safety issue, because with the parking that's there, you cannot see cars coming at you from the west. And it just, I and my wife and the neighbors around us do support that as a no parking zone. There are lots of kids around and everything, and it just is safer. The other issue is that we had also talked about possibly the electric speed signs or whatever, and talking to the chief here, he showed me some data that indicated that our perception that people are going faster than the 25 miles an hour may at times not be correct. And I still volunteer that if you want to put one of those signs, stick it in my front yard. I don't care.
I do think one of the things we'll have to watch if this is approved is just see what effect that does, because that is actually one of the negative effects of restricting parking is it increases speeds. So that is something. I did get a call from Dave Burwanger, who lives, I believe,
Yeah, he's just right after the curve,
and
right
he,
here. Yeah.
he also was in favor. I did have another call. They never actually call me or email me, but they left a message that one other neighbor that was not in favor, and they had some other resolution, but I never got anything. Just full
You guys will try
disclosure.
to keep an eye on the speed out there once we do this.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
we just recently took data too, and it was right around the 24, 25 mile per hour, so we're in good shape there. But yeah, I think if we did restrict the parking that we would do, I'd say soon after, we could do it for probably a week's worth of data and just see what we get, so.
Good.
Thank you.
Anyone else on Firestone Drive?
Motion to approve recommendation of restricting parking on the north side within the limitations as stated.
And I will second that. It is approved.
May I ask one quick question? Are we talking about from Delaware Street around to the end of the curve?
I can answer that. It was actually just west of Delaware Street. There's a fire hydrant that's located right there. We're using both fire hydrants as being your, so just right where that speed hump is.
Delaware is where we're sitting on this. We're looking from Delaware up to that fire hydrant.
Yeah, you're talking about starting at here
Correct.
and you're going around here, just at the end of the curve.
Correct.
Technically, you still would be able to park a vehicle or two before you get to the intersection.
Is there a restriction on how far?
Yeah.
You
might-
Yeah,
You might be able to squeeze one.
I
small
don't know, because then you also have the
Yeah,
corner.
with the fire hydrant at the corner.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you're
you might
not
be
gonna be able to squeeze
close,
one in
yeah.
there. So, but that's you don't have a front door there either, so.
We may decide to sign it.
Yeah,
But it
we-
makes sense. to move the
Yeah,
sign
just
back.
move it back.
Move it all the way back.
Okay. So pretty much from Delaware Drive
I
all the
would
way.
recommend that we can go from Delaware Street all the way up around.
Yep.
Save any future problems potentially.
It's probably there already. It's just a matter of if you want to.
It's probably there by code,
already.
but we'll
Yeah.
make sure it's signed.
Sign it.
Yep.
Okay.
We'll
Clearly.
make sure the resolution states that also.
Anything else on Firestone Drive? Okay, item 7, committee comments.
I think wishing everybody happy Thanksgiving.
Same thing, happy Thanksgiving.
I'm good.
Same here. Happy Turkey Day.
Not a thing.
Thank
Happy Thanksgiving to
the
all.
residents for coming. Give it a
We are
invite.
adjourned at 7:33.
Thank you.